Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So on today's video, we're going to be installing CarPlay on my 2015 Sienna. If you didn't know, the 2015 to 2018 Siennas didn't come with CarPlay. I don't think they added it until 2019 for this version of the Sienna. 2011 to 2014 got screwed as far as technology goes. That was before all the Entune and the touchscreens and infotainment systems. So in today's video, we're going to install a $200 module to add Apple CarPlay as well as Android Auto. So stay tuned. So the CarPlay unit I'm going to be installing today is this Car ABC that I got from Amazon. I got this for around $200. If you need this exact same one, check out the links down in the description. I'll link to this on Amazon. But it's pretty much a plug-and-play system that plugs into your Entune on your Toyota. So this is compatible with the Sienna along with many other Toyota models with the same type of navigation and touchscreen, the Entune 2.0. So what the kit comes with, it comes with the jumper harness and this unit right here that does the CarPlay. So the jumper harness basically taps into the existing system. It's all plug and play. You don't have to do any kind of wiring, cutting, or tapping because it has these plugs that basically just pass through the signals that it doesn't need, and then the signals that it does need, it just goes through this thing and it just plugs right into there. In addition, you get this USB port right here that you can locate near where you need to plug up any kind of USB to connect to it, along with the front camera input right here on the same plug. And then you have the Wi-Fi antenna for the wireless CarPlay. So we've got this. You can mount this on your window, or you can mount it basically under the dash above the window near where your phone may be. So this system is very similar to something I installed maybe 5 or 6 years ago on my Sienna. That thing actually let me access the video menu on the actual screen and let me do an input using RCAs. I actually have a Wi-Fi mirroring device in the car. I used it initially when I first got it, but after a while it was just a little bit too cumbersome to connect to it every time with my phone or my iPad or Android device, so I just quit using it a couple years after I installed it. But it's been in the car ever since, and we'll pull it out and I'll show you guys what it is. So inside the Sienna, to remove the radio console and everything, it's pretty straightforward and much easier than it really looks. So the first thing you need to do is just pop this front cover off right here. This thing goes from this side all the way to the other side, and all it is compression fit slide in. Using a panel popper, you pop it loose and you just basically pull it forward all the way across and it comes right off. Once you take that off, you actually have to drop this bezel right here. This bezel is also a snap in, and it's pretty easy to pop forward. Once we pop that forward, when you take apart the shift knob, you pop cover right here that releases the shift, and it lets you put it into neutral. To do that, make sure you have your e-brake on so the car doesn't roll on you. Once we do that, this part right here just pops right off pretty easily too. It's all compression fit right into there. There's gonna be 2 plugs in here. There's one right behind here for the climate control and all this, and there's another one over here for the lighting and everything on this side. So those are the only 2 that we have to worry about on as far as the harness. And you just pop this out, and this piece right here and the top piece all kind of pop off in one piece. Once you do that, you have access to 4 10mm for the radio. Take that out and you can do all the work behind there. All right, so we'll go ahead and start. We'll go ahead and pop this out right here. So what you want to do is you could get your finger under here, but it's best to just get something and wedge it. Slides right out, kind of put it up here so it just goes straight in right there. The next thing you want to do is pull the bezel right here off. So that one is also a compression fit. You can just lay it here because it's connected to the steering column. If you want to get it out of the way, you could just lower your steering column and pop the clips out of the steering column right here. On the steering column, it just clips in the same way, but for what we need, we just leave it right there. Next thing you want to do, kind of lift this and just pop all this out. So it's pretty dang easy there. So we want to put the e-brake down, unscrew this thing. So we'll go ahead and pop the little cover off using a flathead. That thing out, put it out of the way, and then push the button, and then you could just put it into neutral. Once we do that, you just lift this out. Make sure everything's clear. Unplug the two harnesses that we have. So you got the one harness for the climate control, like I explained earlier. And then the other one for the shifter. Just move that entire thing out of the way. So now we got this. Go ahead and just shoot it off. They're just 4 10mm. Once you get that, go ahead and just slide the radio out. And then you got your plugs back here. Go ahead and just unplug them. Go ahead, just unplug everything. The old unit that I had in here. You don't have to unplug every harness because some of these are actually between the inside the radio and the navigation screen itself. So in here you'll see that I have my old video in motion unit right here. It's got this little controller here along with this board, and I pulled it out. So this thing I'm gonna be removing. In addition, it's got a wire fished down. This is where I mounted that other unit for the car mirror cast, so it's down here. So I'll go ahead and unplug everything up here because it's a plug and play system just like what we're putting in now. So we got to unplug that, unplug this, and that pretty much bypasses the video in motion unit that I have here. And we'll go ahead and remove everything on the bottom here. So this is the factory harness right here. So here's a mirrorcast box that I use to broadcast video into the RCAs for this video in motion. So it's a pretty basic system. It just plugs up with RCAs and then a USB for power. I've got this USB actually tapped into the power for the cigarette lighter down here. I'm gonna go ahead and just remove it. But to access this little panel, it's pretty simple. It's just one little panel right here. Gives you a bunch of room back there to work with and put stuff back there if you have to do anything down here behind the dash. So this previous harness I had, which was the video in motion enabled, along with the RCA inputs, was made by Crux Interfacing. This thing costed me $90 about 7 years ago. Along with this box was another 90 bucks. So this whole setup costs as much as this right here for the Apple CarPlay, but it's a totally different generations of technology, as you can see. As far as the interface and connection, it's very similar to what I showed you guys earlier with the plug and play of the new unit here. This one was also plug and play. It basically plugged in line with your factory harness and radio. For the Sienna, we only used 2 of the 3 harnesses on this one. So it's this side right here along with this side. This one right here we didn't need for our version of the car, so it was just tied up and zip tied right here. This right here was the brains of it all that did all the controls for the video in motion. And as far as the actual RCA input, that thing actually just routes right back into here and it goes straight into the radio. So obviously the radio can take straight RCA inputs and sound and output it on the screen. Aside from that, everything else was a pretty basic connection. This thing was very basic. It's just plug and play with a USB power and then just the RCA, and then everything else you do wirelessly through the mirror box. So for our radio, all 3 of these harnesses are going to be plugged in to this radio. On this previous one, one of these wasn't used. I think it was the pink one. So on our radio, the pink one goes into there. That other one goes into this side. This one plugs into the factory harness that we're not bypassing, and then that last harness goes over here, which is mostly power. So we'll go ahead and plug that all up on the bench, go into here and plug it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and route this to the floor near the center console, just in case I need to plug up USB for any reason, or eventually if I want to add a front camera to the car, I could add it with this. In addition, I need to find a place for the Wi-Fi antenna. I think I'm going to use that grill for the center speaker that's not used on the SE version. I think that center speaker is only used on the limited edition that has the JBL audio. All the regular Siennas don't use that thing, so it's just an empty grill right there that we could plug up. So one thing to note before you put everything on and put it in the car is you want to check what unit you have. So I have a Panasonic right here, and the unit itself, it works both on Panasonic and Pioneer. You just make sure you have to flip the dip switches. So luckily for us, the Panasonic, we just have it all off. So it comes all off from the factory, so we're good there. Go ahead and pop this thing up. It's the same clips like the other ones, that just compression clips. So just push it up and then lift it out. So as far as this harness goes, I'm gonna go ahead and just plug up on here. I'm gonna route it down to the side here where my mirror box was. That way I can have access to it if I have to do anything with it, and I can plug stuff up to it. All right, I was able to fish the antenna wire along with that plug down to here. So it's a perfect spot right now. It reaches plenty of slack right there. So we'll go ahead and leave that unit down here, and I'll show you where I mounted the antenna. I ended up mounting it in a different spot than that grill. So the antenna ended up right there. I just peeled the 3M tape that came with it and just stuck it to the bottom of the dash. So that's perfect for what we need for the Wi-Fi, because Wi-Fi should be able to penetrate this plastic pretty easily. Plus our phone is usually in this front area anyway, so we'll be perfect in that spot, and it clears everything because this harness right here for the radio is already there. So we should be good in that spot. So we'll go ahead and put everything back together and test it out. All right, got that unit mounted right there. I ended up plugging the antenna on the top side, the harness on the bottom. Here's the USB harness that's just tucked here for now until I figure out if I need it or not. If I do need it for any reason, I'll go ahead and pull it to the front closer to the center console where I can actually use it. Get back in the car, plug everything up the way we took it apart. Some of these plugs your unit might not have as many, just because mine's a navigation unit, so I've got some extra plugs that the normal unit may not have. Make sure all your harnesses and plugs are in and nothing is forgotten. There is a plug in the middle that looks like it's not used. I didn't know earlier if I had to unplug it or not, but apparently it doesn't look like there's an extra plug anywhere, so I don't have to worry about that. All right, so I've got it tucked back in. I had to push the wire. I had to move the harness off to the side a little bit just because it was getting jammed a little bit, but everything was fitting perfect once I did that. So now, before I even bolt anything or think about putting it all back together, I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the power. Don't start the car, just turn on the power, see if everything boots up and if it goes into the CarPlay mode. All right, so to connect to the, I think to connect you need to choose your source. Turn on the audio, turn that off, home, audio, source, AUX, and then we have CarPlay. Resolution sucks on here. It's not that pretty as far as resolution goes compared to the screen, but it works. So you want to connect your phone using the wired method or the wireless, so it goes through that step right there. And we also have Android Auto right here, so it does go through all that step too. So we'll go ahead and try to, the USB, there's no device on there. Camera, that's the front camera, so we have Nothing going on there. I don't know how to go back. Bluetooth settings. So you can pair your iPhone to that. Settings, system, right-hand drive, factory reset. AirPlay. So it looks like everything works as far as interface and everything and touch. It's just that the resolution on the interface is pretty low. So this thing must have been designed for lower resolution screens. So I'll go ahead and put everything together and we'll go through a connection and see if it works. All right, so here's another setting for the Sienna that you guys got to make sure you do. You need to go to car settings. Make sure you set your camera to OE camera. If you set it to aftermarket camera, your rear view camera won't show up because the signal and the voltage is different for OE versus aftermarket. In addition, you want to set it to Sienna, left, right, the higher resolution. That helps a little bit with resolution. It's not all that great, but it does work a little bit better on that setting. So once you do that, everything else should work. So if you put it in reverse, you get the reverse. Resolution looks a little bit better, not that great. One of the reasons why your resolution is not gonna be that great, all it's doing is tapping your reverse camera and tapping that video input there. So that video input is only RGB, so it's not that great. It's basically 480p, if that, versus the screen here, which is an actual HD screen on this car. So that's the main difference on the resolution. Since it doesn't use a native video link into the thing like built in, the resolution is only so great. Okay, we got everything put all back together. It all snaps in pretty easily. No screws except for the 4 that hold the radio. Very simple interior to take apart if you have to do anything. Much better than the Lexus and other Toyotas and Hondas I've worked with where we have a million bolts, clips, and screws everywhere. Hey guys, thanks for joining me all the way to the end of this video on putting that CarPlay into the Sienna. I've been driving this car with the CarPlay for a couple of days, and a few of the things I've kind of figured out is that the resolution sucks, as we explained earlier. So this unit is actually tapping in the reverse signal for the video input, and it's using basically an RCA input, which is very low quality from the beginning, like a 480p. So you're not gonna get your HD quality, 1080p or whatever you're expecting out of this. If it was directly tied to the resolution of the screen, it would be much better. The other thing that you're gonna notice is you can't use your FM radio and also have your CarPlay maps and whatever and have it talk to you, because the unit's basically using your aux input for the audio, so you can't have the aux and the FM at the same time. So that's the real limitation there on listening to FM radio. So basically every time you're using your maps on the screen, you're basically having to use either Pandora, Spotify, or whatever your music app. If you guys found this video useful for what you're doing, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel to stay on top of all my different DIY videos, go ahead and subscribe to your channel, turn on bell notifications to get notified every time I upload a video. For all these different DIY projects, whether it's on the cars, in the garage, on the house, if I can do it, you guys can do it. I want to thank you guys for watching all the way to the end, and I'll talk to you guys next time.